people to join, if anybody wants to join at all. Alright, I guess I'll wait for just one viewer. And I believe I am my one viewer. Alright, I'll give it a minute and I'll get started soon. Wait, I should send it out on Instagram. Keep receiving payment. I don't know why. It's not much payment, it's like 15 rupees. It's for that Paytm advertisement thing. Right, I ended up taking a good photo, but I put a caption over it, so it's not usable. Alright, so I'll get started. What I want to do is I want to create my own game engine, and the things that I want to do is like basically the point of this stream is going to be that I want to show you how I am making my game engine, as well as how you can. Like, I just want to show my thought process. I don't have like a fixed idea of how the game engine is going to be. I know that I wanted to render 3D graphics and have like basic physics and audio stuff going. In this one, I'm hoping I can end with like a square on the screen or something like that. One sec. Alright. So with that, let's get started. I'm using Visual Studio 2019, and what I want to do is I want to create a new project, and I want to say, sorry about that. I want to create an empty project in C++. That's what I normally use. Like for anything, I want to test out basic code, I use that. Now for the project name, I'm going to call it Serial Engine. Never mind. And I want to place it in my don't look. I'll just put it in my repos and then I'll change it later on. I want you guys to look at my files. And I just realized I might have to end up showing you anyways. Alright, so I'm just gonna go on youtube.gov. I'm going to close that tab and I'm going to say, let's go. We want to install SDL, so I'm just going to look up SDL. I'm going to find the wrong company. I'm going to say SDL download. Has the project open? Yes, it has. Actually, let's run it and check first, because that's something I always like to do. So let's have this be main.cpp. And let's write our hello world, because why not? Okay, iOS stream int main int argc star argv. What I want to say, cout. Let's say welcome to the Serial Engine and a CD line and return 0. Alright, let's just run it. Let's see if C++ works. I think it might work. And it opened in the wrong window, but look at it. It's wrong monitor. But look, it says welcome to Serial Engine. Yeah, I'm not running it on my main monitor because again I'll get notifications. I don't want you guys to see all of them. Alright, so that was hello world. Now you know how to do hello world. Let's download SDL. So it's libsdl actually. That's what you are supposed to look for. And we do get current stable version. We were already in get current stable version, and we want to get the development libraries. This. And since I'm using Visual Studio, I want to use the SDL devil 2.0.12-vc.zip. If you're using custom, like not Visual Studio, then you can just use the MinGW compiler. MinGW libraries. Not sure exactly what the difference is, but I know there is a difference. So I'm going to extract it to my desktop, just under here. And while it's transferring, let's open our folder, like a project folder. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder called dependencies. It's just what I like to do. And I'm going to say my SDL is over here. Now it's over here. Let's look at what's inside. You can delete everything. The main things you want to keep is the libraries, and it has that x84, x86, and your include. This is super important. Never remove it. Alright, so let's get in here. Why is this open? Alright, so let's just right click and open our properties, and let's just link it to our program engine. Let's just call it engine. Alright, so in general, let's go to additional library directories, and let's say we want to include we want to say, since we're only, I'm going to start limiting myself right now, and I'm going to say I'm only going to make it an x64 engine, because like I don't think any computer that was built after 2010 even uses x86 architecture. But it's like for backwards compatibility, like how backwards do I plan on going. So let's just shift to x64 from here, top. Why did I close it? Okay, so we have included our x64. Now in our additional dependencies, I'm just going to edit this, and in our this window we will say, I believe we want sdl2.lib and sdl2 main.lib. Let's check. Yo Abhinav, what's up? Why isn't your chat showing up? Sound work mal zarur છે, chat work mal કાંઈ નહીં છે. Oh, now it works. Might have to leave this open. I'm just gonna. Okay, so I have written hello world. That's it. And when I try to run it, I don't know why it's not working. Just work. Should I do system pause? I can hear myself now. Okay, there were build errors because I didn't put a semicolon. Okay, fine. Where is it running? Oh, it is behind the. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, so it loaded SDL and it started running. Let's. Alright, so now I'm gonna write some code so that I never have to open main.cpp ever again. I'm going to go to my class wizard, and I'm going to close my class wizard, and I'm going to say add class, and I'm gonna say let's just call it application dot cpp. It just adds itself. Now in this, what we need is alright, so what we need to do is we need to include our sdl.h, not what? Alright, we didn't include our library, our header files. So go to C, C++, and let's say additional include directories, edit, a new window opens on the wrong monitor, and we go to dependencies, sdl2 blah 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 whatever, include, and it is now included. Woo! See, you can see the squigglies have gone. And so what we want is in this what do you call it, in this class, what we want is for us to be able to create a window and then never have to open main again. So we need to initialize this class in main. So we're going to create our window, and the window is of type SDL window. How convenient. And we'll just call it window, or let's just call it underscore window, because naming conventions are bad. It's my brain thoughts. And let's just call it is running. We need a boolean to basically say ki okay, while this boolean is true, our program should run. When it's false, just wind up the whole thing. And we need some functionality, so let's just, and you'll notice I'm just making everything static, and that's because I'm going to create an object for everything. And if it works, why would I fix it? So I'm going to say static void run, and I'm going to have a static void update. And before that, actually this is our input loop, so I'm going to say static void input. So it takes the input, it updates the data of the engine. Okay, why are we using SDL windows if we have to call it from main? Okay, so the reason we are doing that is because SDL is basically our framework, and what the framework is doing is it is telling us that we can just what do you call it, so basically so that we can open our window. So it's like this is a handle to the window. It's like if you're using C++, if you've done Windows programming, there's something called I think it's called HWND or something like that. So it's a handle to our window, basically the variable that will store our window so that we can get and take information from it and to it. Alright, so we need render. So this is our update loop. So what's going to happen is in our run function, there's going to be a while loop that takes input update, that calls input update and render. And in these three functions, what we can do is we can say ki yeah, let's input update and render. And then we need close. Alright, so let's just go to application.h, and let's say instead of that, let's just erase too far and then start typing again. Let's include application.h, and let's ignore these errors for right now because we are not compiling. We say application, first we have to init, and then we have to run, and then we have to close. And that's about it. It's inaccessible. Alright, public, sorry. Everything is public. I'm just actually, you know what, let's not be that way. Let's just use struct. I don't like to use the word class because I don't care. It's there's no difference between a class and a struct. So like in C++. So I don't think I should have to, what am I doing? I don't think I should have to, like, if every function is public, I shouldn't have to like create a whole new class for it. So let's include IO stream. And yeah, I am going to create everything in structs because I'm not using access specifiers at all. I don't care about them at all. And maybe they are bad programming practices. I will find out and I will correct myself when I have to. Right now I don't have to. Say again, type without looking. I am writing endif. I forgot the D. Alright, so what these are basically header guards, so that if I accidentally include application.h twice, it only writes this class code once, because otherwise what's going to happen is I'm going to say struct application once again, and this time it's not going to compile. It's not telling me that it won't, but it won't. It's going to give me errors in the future. So let's write our init. I'm just going to create definition of init in application.cpp. And first, since we are using static variables, we have to initialize them, because I don't know who made this language. It's Barney something, I don't know. He did a good job. I keep picking fights with that poor guy. And let's just call it let's just call it as null in the beginning. Same thing for is running. I'm not sure if we can have null bools. Bool. And let's be is running. Now the naming scheme that I'm using is I believe it's called Hungarian notation. I don't know. And it's absolutely pointless because I will stop following it like in a few minutes. Don't worry about it. My variables are never named correctly. They don't have to be. Who's going to review my code? Alright, so in init what we want to call is, this is where our program starts. So we're going to say if SDL init, and what do we want to init? Let's say we want to init everything, just in case. And actually let me just show you what it does. So let's say SDL let's just use cout, and since we're calling run, we'll have to implement that. And let's just leave it as an empty implementation for now. So when we use cout, either I'm going to have a build error or I'm going to print a number. Not doing anything. Welcome to Serial Engine 0. Okay, so what 0 means is that SDL has loaded correctly. So like it has loaded everything. So let's just say SDL init, if SDL init everything is equal to 0. Some people also like to use greater than -1, less than 1 or something like that. It's pretty much the same thing. I don't think there's any any instance where you will return something that's not 0 unless the program has failed. So if it has, or let's just say it's not equal to 0, it's cleaner that way. So if it is not equal to 0, you just return right now. And what we're going to do is we are going to say, let's have another static bool actually. Let's have it be initialized. How do you spell initialized? Okay, so I forgot how to spell initialized. initialized is equal to null. How are bool equal to null? Alright, so yeah, we'll just set initialize equal to false. Actually, it should be false. Let's just set it to false. And just in case, let's just set initialize equal to false here anyways. So what I'm doing here is basically, unless everything goes right, this variable will never be true. So if I have failed in initializing something, then the whole program just ends. And if there is an error, so what we want to do is we want to say, okay, what is the error? So we're going to say stdcout and we are going to print our error. And I know some of you will have come here from watching the Journo's code, and he's like a much better programmer than I ever will be. So he wrote a bunch of debugging code. I just prefer using stdcout. If I need to do more, I will do it at that time. But right now I don't need to. Alright, so stdcout, what do we see out? We say, let's just say error root, error initializing SDL. And there is another function that we can call, which we can do it without having to initialize SDL, which is called SDL get error. I don't know how but it works. Like, yo Atharva, what's up? Alright, so what we did is should I just go to application.cpp? This is confusing me. Yeah. Okay, so we set initialized false, we initialized SDL. Now we want to create our window. So let's say window is equal to SDL create window. Okay, there is a function. Hey, what does the window take? It takes a title, so let's give it a title. Let's just call it serial engine. Our int x is SDL window was undefined. How do you spell? Okay. And our width and height is going to be 800 by 600. Where am I pulling these numbers? Can't tell you. And our window is going to have the flag SDL win. I think it's like vsync something. SDL hint render vsync. Sounds correct. And I think it's accelerated. This is for renderer. Is this for renderer? SDL window hint. Okay, these are, you know what, I'm just gonna leave this null right now. Or let me just how did I init it before? Forgot everything. We will be using OpenGL later, so let's just say SDL window OpenGL. Hey, I remember this. Why did I write undefined? Undefined is basically wherever it's so whenever you start a window, let's start a window. I shouldn't have started that window. Let's start another window. Let's say I open up Yuzu. It always opens by default on my other monitor, which from where I'm reading the chats. And what it's doing is basically, if I close it here and I open it again, it's going to open at my first window. That's because the position is defined. But if I don't define it, I say it's undefined, it'll just say okay, that means that wherever it was last stored, whatever the default value is, just open it from there. Alright, so window is equal to SDL create window, blah blah blah. It's all nonsense code. Doesn't matter. It matters, but like, you get what I mean. And we haven't included OpenGL yet. We'll do that when we do that. And if we are not able to create a window, we'll say std cout could not create window, and then we'll leave a colon space, just one colon, and we'll say SDL get error. It's the same thing. It's like a bunch of boilerplate code basically. Remember the semicolon, remember to return, and if everything works fine, we'll just say initialize equal to true. Alright, so when I run this, I'm going to say, okay, a window flashed on my other monitor. Okay, how do I bring it here then? I'm going to go to main again, which I promised I wouldn't do. I'm going to say system pause. You shouldn't use system pause. It's like not a very, it's not the most recommended technique. Okay, the window is here. I can see it. I can't show it to you because SDL hates me, but you can see the window is there. The window does exist. Alright, the way to fix that is we need to actually write a run function. So what we are going to do is we are going to say while is running, I was going to right lost my flow of thought. It's going to happen a lot, get used to it. The engine hasn't closed yet. How do I? Yeah. Alright, SDL event E. Can we get E's in the chat, lol? Yeah, okay, so while SDL poll events, event, only one E, and we are going to place everything in E. And we are going to say, we're going to put this in a switch case, and what we are going to say is E dot type, and if our event, basically if what we are doing is we want to SDL event close, window event close, no, I think it's SDL quit. It's been so long I've forgotten everything. So if our event is SDL quit, we want to say is running is false, because if we said quit, size बढ़ाना screen का, this is probably better. I hope it is. It's hurting my eyes. SDL false, and then we break. It's not hurting my eyes, don't worry. And now when we run it, it says could not create window. Woo! Our first error. Why? I hate you. Serial engine. Maybe it's because I haven't included OpenGL. Let's just leave this null for now. And I still could not. It says could not create. Oh, right. Okay. It could create window. It just hates me. So now we are polling events. Are we polling events? Just 1 second. Alright, let's just write this whole loop and then let's see what the outcome is. So what we do is application input, application update, application render. So yeah, you can just say what? One sec. You can just call input update render like this also. It works fine. In fact, I'll just show you. It's going to give me an error, but that's because I haven't implemented the 3 functions yet. So let's implement them, or let's at least pretend to implement them. Just made an okay. Alright, now when I run them, it's going to run fine. And it's saying I have no errors. Why am I not able to bring the window here? I want to show you guys my work. Is it going into the... Oh, that makes sense. It's not even going into the loop. Because it's running is false. Oh my god. Is running equal to true. Look at that, the window. Oh, I have a window. Correct? No, it's there. We are safe. Accidentally pressed the desktop button. I lost all my stream and everything. Okay, where's my window? You can see my window. You can see my console. My console is here. Look, it says welcome to Serial Engine. Woo! Made a window, and it only took me half an hour. Okay, so that was a bunch of boilerplate code out of the way. Let's application run input. So yeah, you can say input update render, but I'm undoing my good code. But I'm going to just call application render instead, because if I end up wanting to change it for some reason, it's just easier for me to find which class function I was calling. Like if I create my own input manager, I'm going to say input : get. I don't know what to call it. Something. That's for future me to decide. Alright, so what do we do next? We will do... What will we do next? Alright, one thing that I always like to have like very early on is, first I like to open and close the settings, then I like to go to add, and then I like to create another class. And what I want to call this is settings. And this has to be a struct, once again, because every variable is accessible. And what I want to have is a static int fps. So I want to make sure that I know what the frames per second is. Pardon. And then I want like basic window stuff, like what the what do you call it, what the window title is. So let's just call it title, and then we want access to our width and height. Sorry, static int width and static int height. And then we need like a bunch of like 3D projection stuff later on. I'm not going to add it here right now because we are not going to be using it right now. I'm going to say include IO stream. Now you'll see I have already included IO stream here, and I'm going to erase it. But even if I didn't erase it, it would have run perfectly fine, because in IO stream you actually have header cards like this. Maybe they're written slightly differently. So let's include settings. Alright, quotes. settings.h. So if you're using your own custom made class, you should use quotes, and if you're using the inbuilt classes or included classes, included headers, then you use the chevrons basically. So now what we want to do is we ask, why is input still green? Hey, it's not found. It is found. Where'd it go? Might have erased that as well. Let's just implement it again. Okay, we have our functions again. Yay. And let's save. Let's close this because it's open here. Didn't close it without saving. And this whole thing should happen. Actually, you know what? I'll just say I'll get rid of this initialized boolean altogether. I don't want it in my life. And it's initialize false. Alright, so early on refactoring is super simple. So let's just say application run. I want to call is running. So let's just call application run, and then in main we don't need to call run again. We'll just say application init and application close. In fact, let's not call close. Let's just say fine. Just stick everything in init. Already sticking everything in main, so like, what's the difference? Application close. So by now, one thing you might have noticed about me is that I don't know how to code for shit. Well, I'm using all the wrong coding practices. But the code runs. So I don't care. Alright, now we want to start including OpenGL, and for that what we are going to be using is Glad, not Gladiator. Glad OpenGL. So you go to glad.david.de and you say we are using C++, OpenGL, code. Yes. Let's just use whatever the latest version is. Do you want GLES? No. Do you want GLES2? No. GLSC? I don't know what that is. Now, omit KHR. Due to recent changes in specification, this might not work anymore. Okay, so I don't know what to do over here. So let's check a tutorial. And if you want a tutorial on what to actually do, I hope you are not here to learn, because there'll be like minimum amount of learning over here. Let's say getting started, and let's what do we want to do? Let's go to creating a window. They use GLFW. I don't like GLFW. It's not good. So setting up Glad. Go to Glad Web Services, and the API section is at the very least 3.3. Okay, fine. Also make sure the profile is set to core. Okay, we set our profile to core. Now the generate a loader option is ticked. Generate a loader option is definitely ticked. Ignore the extensions for now, and click generate to produce the resulting library files. Fine. So we'll click generate and it's going to start downloading glad.zip, and it has my include an src. So what I'm going to do is, I had this SDL folder in serial engine /dependencies. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Glad, and I'm just going to select all this and extract it here. Simple as that. And again in src we have glad.c. I didn't mean for it to rhyme. So we're gonna drag it into serial engine where the rest of our CPP files are. Normally you want to have like an src folder over here, but I'll do that later. maybe. So in glad I just want to include this include folder. So I'll do glad/glad.h, or I'll do khr/khr platform. I know what that is. Gotta appreciate my honesty, lol. I believe there are some libraries that I'm forgetting to include. I will include them when I remember. So let's just go to dependencies, glad include, select folder, and you just say okay. Yeah, I'm getting a new subscriber. It's supposed to be an alert box that says, oh, whenever someone subscribes, I get a notification. Alright, never mind. Let's get to work. So in our application.h, what we want to do is we want to $include. Okay. We want to include glad/glad.h. And so now we have access to some OpenGL functionality. So we want a static SDLGL context, and what this is basically a handle to where your OpenGL code should be running. It's like baseline interpretation of what I'm saying. And since we are using SDL combined with OpenGL, we want to say SDLGL context. So everything is just prefixed with SDL underscore. That's it. I just realized that was Shubham who said size बढ़ा screen का. Hi Shubham, forgot to say hi. Okay, what am I writing? Context. Should be underscore context. Don't remember if I wrote it. I did not. I'm gonna write it right now. Now the code for context is slightly different. What I mean slightly, it's very different, because now we need to set up OpenGL altogether. First of all, what is happening? Oh, it's not a pointer. Okay. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to set up our attributes. How does this work? Okay. And the attributes that we want to set is SDLGL context major version, which was 4, and our minor version, which was 6. So what we did was we downloaded GL version 4.6. So major 4, minor 6, size ++. I'm not increasing the size more than this. And the other thing we want to say is that our profile is let me remember what the thing is called. It's SDL profile. Where's autocomplete when you need it? SDLGL context profile mask is SDLGL context profile core. So what I'm saying is attributes as method mean. When do I use attributes as okay, so what we're doing, this set attribute is basically we are telling a graphics card, I guess, not a graphics card, we're basically telling OpenGL that these are the settings that we want to use. So that's what attribute means in this case. Alright, set attribute, and now we have the easiest function ever. We say context, we forget the underscore before it, and we say is equal to sdlgl get context. Where is it? Get context. Why? Maybe it's like create context. Okay, it's create context, it's not get context. The context does not exist. Not window. Why did it allow me to take windows? And if I didn't get context, you would think, oh, I will have to unset these attributes, right? But since the program just ends, so nobody cares. It's kind of your fault at that point. And we say, sorry, chevrons, and we say OpenGL context was not created. And surprisingly enough, we can still use SDL get error. There is no OpenGL or GL get error or whatever. How do you spell? Sorry. Endl. And you return. Means it is working as calling function for OpenGL. Yeah, exactly. Now why did my context fail? Why didn't it run? It just crashes. Maybe I want to have a system pause. OpenGL context was not let me just show you the error. OpenGL context was not created. The specified window isn't an OpenGL window. Okay, oh, I remember. Go here. We set this to null, right? We were supposed to set this to SDL window OpenGL. Now when I run this, my program doesn't crash. Look at that. Whoa, it doesn't say anything. That means that everything is fine. See, when nothing is happening in your program, that means everything is fine. If something happens, panic. Alright, what do you want to do next? So now we want to set like a whole bunch of more functions that are related to OpenGL. First of all, we want to set up vsync. Vsync is basically, should I explain? I'll maybe in a later stream. So vsync is basically vertical sync, which means that every image should run one after the other, and not it shouldn't start tearing, like render half a frame on top of the other one. So set swap interval, and it should be 1. Now I'm not sure why it is 1, I just know that that's what the function asks. You don't have to understand everything, you know. And if it returns the value less than 0, that means it's negative, so something went wrong. So something, no, I'm not gonna write the whole thing. Failed to set vsync. I want to be stylish by using my first character, by having my first character be small. And let's just call get error again. It's a bunch of boilerplate code, honestly, but once you do it, you never have to return to it. Well, you do, but only when you're refactoring and making changes. And I'm fine with that. Made my peace with it. Now, how do you initialize glad? So we included glad. We included glad, but we didn't call anything from it because all this is in sdl.h. Even if I remove glad.h, it's going to still work. So now we have to initialize glad. So we say glad load gl loader, and it takes in a glad load proc. So glad load proc, and what we want to pass it is our SDL procedure. So we say SDL gl get load get proc address, and the return type of this function is a bool. So what is this? Gyad. Oh, have I spelled something wrong? Oh, another L. Is there more? This should be a different color. What did I spell wrong? Glad load proc. What did I spell wrong? I can't tell. Alright, fine. If it returns false, it returns false. Fine. And we just say OpenGL could not be initialized, and we say std end line, and we return again. Return so many times, like return to castle Wolfenstein. Anybody remember that? That's like fucking core memory unlocked. So now we want to just make sure that when our OpenGL is actually working, we say SDL get string, GL get string, and we get our version. So we just want to make sure that the version we are getting is the correct version. So moment of truth, I'm going to have to drag the window again. What's that condition mean? Which condition? There were build errors. Thank you so much. Glad loader, GL loader, and all that. Okay. So what I'm doing is I am creating this as a variable. So SDL GL get proc address gets the procedure in Windows. It's like a Windows programming thing. So if I have like auto s is equal to, and then I pass in s, should work. Is a bracket error? Okay, fine. So what I did was I created a variable right now, and I said okay, I want to typecast it into glad load proc, which is I think it's basically a wrapper for an integer, and what this is it's a function pointer, and it's saying when I say glad load GL loader, I'm saying okay, the thing that's going to load OpenGL is going to be this function. So I'm passing this function pointer into glad, and it says whenever I want to load glad, I just want you to call this function. I can call it myself, but OpenGL likes to do things Atmanirbhar. It's like the best explanation I can give you. So let's just ignore this, and I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's run it again. On glad GL get string. Okay, so you remember how we added glad? What is this? Open folder in file browser. Okay, so we added glad.c here, but it doesn't show up over here. That's because the Visual Studio is garbage. So we're going to say add existing item, and we're going to add glad.c, and when we run it, it runs, and we have our OpenGL version is 4.6.0, and these are my graphics drivers, which is NVIDIA 451.48, which is good, I think. Now close. It's not closing. Well, so when I click close, it should be is running false. Should have closed. Fine, we'll get to it when we get to it. And now I want to set up some like baseline functionality. Let's say our clear color is going to be I don't know, chats, what's your favorite color? I'm setting it to black till then. I'm just going to set it to 0.0 so that I don't have any issues. 0f, 0.0f, this 0.0f. So this will be the background color of our window. Now, which front face do we want? We want our GL front face to be GL counterclockwise, and our GL cull face, which is the face that we want to say, okay, don't draw this face, which is our back face. We can have it be like cull the front face, which is like don't draw if it is directly facing you. I don't know why you would want that, but you have the choice. That's the best part of OpenGL. Now we want to enable a bunch of settings, and I'll be we want to say we want to allow it to cull faces first. So we say GL cull face, and then we say GL enable depth test. So what depth test is doing is it's saying what do you call it? It's going to divide by the z-axis and basically do a bunch of maths on its own. GL enable enable. Now GL enable what else? In fact, I don't think we need depth test right now. Or do we? We might. I'm going to leave it. Don't want to tamper with anything. Now when we run it, it's going to give me the same output. Look at that. My window is still white. Why is it white? It's because I haven't had the legacy of colonialism inserted into me yet. And I don't know why it isn't closing. It should. We're just going to go to application render, and we're going to say we're going to write a bunch of like nonsense code. It's not nonsense, but like, you get what I mean. So we're going to say OpenGL should clear, and what should it clear? It's going to say I'm going to do GL color buffer bit pipe GL depth buffer bit. Put a semicolon. I keep forgetting to do that, and then we just call SDLGL swap window. And which window do we want to swap? We want to swap the window that we're using, which is underscore. And now we should have a black window. Look at that. No. And it's running at 60 FPS because I have vertical sync enabled. The console also started. Look at that. But when I click close, what is this? Oh, okay, I got it. I'm calling system pause. Don't call system pause. That's why you don't call system pause. But I will still continue to do that. So when I click close, it closes. So we have started a whole bunch of things. I'm going to implement close today and wrap it up. So basically getting a window open is like most I have got to do. It's already been more than an hour. So what we want to do is first we want to destroy our window. So SDL destroy window, And which window do we want to destroy? We can have multiple windows, that's why I have to call all these functions. And SDL destroy delete context. Okay, and we delete our context. Surprisingly enough, when we want to get rid of a window, we need a pointer to a window, but when we want to delete our context, we just need the context. I have a theory why, and if you want to find out, stay till my next stream. Yeah, that's how I get people to stay. Everybody's like, what a dickhead. Alright, what do we want next? We want... I think that's it. Yeah, okay. So basically everything you initialize, you just want to delete over here. If you created a window in init, you destroy a window in init. If you created a context in init, you destroy a context in close. If you initialize SDL, you want to destroy SDL. Let me check if there is a glad close. 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 Exit. Remove. No. Delete. Oh, there's a lot of delete. You can delete shaders and buffers and lists and programs and stuff. Everything. Okay, fine. So glad closes itself. We want Lucifer. I also want Lucifer. He's very hot. Alright, so what we're going to do in the next stream is I want to be able to hopefully draw something on the window. Like, that's a good goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to be setting up shaders, and we are going to do a whole bunch of nonsense with it. I'm basically going to create a whole shader class. What it's going to do is I'm going to just have a bunch of functionality implemented from that class. Like, I pass it in through the constructor and like a whole bunch of nonsense. And I will do that on, let's check my calendar, 26th. I will be live 26th at 4. So be sure. Actually, I won't do shader code at 26th. I will do shader code at 30th. So I'll do shader code at 30th. On 26th, I will be live streaming and I'll be solving some what do you call it? I want to be solving some hacker rank problems actually. So that's what I'll be doing on 26th. To open the calendar every time to check. Why we destroy and close window and context. Okay, it's like some nonsense reason actually. There's no like actual justification. Like, ideally I can just go without it, because all this is being called at the end of the program. So when my program closes, everything around it closes, but that only happens in Windows. And the code that I'm writing, the way I'm writing it, I'm not using any bit of Windows programming whatsoever. So what's happening is, if I run it in something like Linux, which actually let me tell you how the window thing works first. So in Windows, what happens is it allocates a certain amount of memory for you. It says ki you can only use this amount of RAM, and if something goes wrong, the problem area is only in that amount of RAM. And so when the program closes, all that RAM is just kind of discarded. I don't know if it's flushed, but it is discarded. And so when I say application.close, I'm just being very safe, because in some operating systems like Linux, or maybe in the Raspberry Pi, I believe, what happens is this engine will not close that window like automatically. It will say, okay, let's you didn't say you want to close the application. That's the best justification, honestly. Like, you basically have to tell it in some operating systems. In some operating systems you don't have to. So since I wanted to run on everything, I'm doing it. Alright, any other questions? I'll wait till 5:10. If there are no questions, I will exit because my voice is very sore right now. Can I? Whoa. Don't want to move the background. Anyway, so also I just want to show you like what I want to do in Hacker Rank. So Hacker Rank, there's this thing called the interview preparation kit, and this looks important. It's got some interesting challenges, and as you can see, I haven't solved even one of them. There are 69 of them. Nice. So I will do. Could not. What? Did we create a window? Alright, whatever. So there are a bunch of challenges and I want to basically fix it. Bro, how you will optimize for RAM efficiency? For RAM efficiency, it's basically, so if you're using something like C#, what you want is like you don't want to do anything because the garbage collector will just optimize it on its own. It'll say, okay, I'm using too much RAM, maybe I shouldn't use too much RAM. But in C++, basically what you want to do is, one thing that I'm doing is I'm not creating objects and stuff, I'm just saying this is fixed code. So all this is loaded in. This is more for load times than for anything else. And what I want to do for RAM efficiency is basically only create the objects or only initialize what I'm going to be using. I don't want to do anything more than or less than that. So like if I am looking at a 3D model, I want to load it, and if I am not looking at it, I want to just chuck it. But optimizations and all that comes like far into the future, like that far. And I'm like over here, I'm like in the back of the room actually. So optimizations and everything I'll think about later. So yeah, I'm going to be solving these challenges on Wednesday 4 o'clock. Be sure to join me for that, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday 4 o'clock 26th. I'll also maybe make some memes of the dumb stuff I have said on the stream, so be sure to subscribe for that, and I'll see you guys Wednesday